Hello out there in internet world. How are you? Today I want to talk about the customer journey, how it relates to marketing, SEO, local businesses, and how you can use it to get more leads and more customers, higher conversion rates, everything, right? It literally applies to everything. So I just want to go through this, kind of give you some of my thoughts and what I've learned, because what I see more than anything here is this one size fits all approach from marketers, right? You talk to a SEO guy, they tell you SEO is the answer. You talk to an ads guy, they tell you ads is the answer, right? It's like there's no actual thought process, and that comes from sales, right? People being salesmen and they don't know the answer, right? So they're just going to tell you to use their service, right? But whatever. So this is how you can figure out and diagnose, get an idea for how this all applies to you. And what should you be doing if you want to get more leads and customers, right? Where are your issues, right, likely to be at? So that's where the customer journey is. So the customer journey, more specifically, is just the process that a customer, your potential customer, is going to have to go through to get them from being somewhat interested in a service that you offer all the way down to being an actual customer who pays. So that's the customer journey. Now, for local businesses, there are specifically, I like to break it up into two different buckets, right? We have the short customer journey and a long customer journey. Now, what does that mean? What this typically is related to is the amount of money that is going to be spent, right? A bigger ticket item is likely going to involve more research, right? Research heavy, right? Whereas a shorter customer journey is going to be less dependent on research and more dependent on making a quick decision, right? Somebody who just needs help. This is the primary difference in the customer journey. So let me just go through each of these. So shorter customer journey is plumbers, right? Probably roofers, right? HVAC, at least most parts of that. These are places where you're going to have people who are going to probably call the top three, come have them out. First three people who answer their phone are going to come out, give them a quote. They're going to look at those quotes. They're going to make a decision. That's the shorter type of customer journey. Whereas the other type of customer journey is the longer research heavy one. This is usually image, right? Image dependent, right? Usually more creative, bigger room for errors that people are going to understand. I mean, if you put the HVAC system in wrong, people probably aren't going to know. But if you paint their wall wrong, right, they're going to know. So painters, right, custom builders, remodeling, right, interior design. That's just a few of these longer customer journeys. Now, why does this matter? Because this is how you figure out where your problems are. Too often I see a painter or a remodeler whose sole focus is trying to rank number one, and they might already be ranking in the top three and they're not getting business, and the SEO or the ad guy tells them, keep running ads, keep doing SEO, and it's like smashing your head against a wall, because that isn't the problem. Traffic is not always the problem. This comes down to conversions, right? Once again, on the short side here, it's about answering the phone. On the long side, it's about making sure the customer feels comfortable with the business that you do, that you're doing a good job and you can solve their problems. So how does this play into SEO and marketing and advertising? Well, once again, this is gonna say a lot about where problems are, because especially in the longer customer journey type businesses, you don't actually need to be perfect on the advertising and SEO side. What helps over here, if you're looking to up your conversion rates, is your assets, right? So what that means is, on the short side, people are going to call the top 3, but on the long side, people will do research, right? So they might go down to number 5, down to number 10. I have so many businesses in this side of the category that do really well. They get a ton of traffic, even though they don't rank in the top in every area, because people are willing to go look around, shop around, and find people who fit the aesthetic or the work quality that they're looking for. So this is where pictures can be a really good play, right? Not only just having the right images and assets, but also making sure they speak to the customer, right? If you're a home painter and you don't have really good pictures that make it obvious that you do a good job at painting, then you're going to lose a lot of people who would have potentially called, whether you're number 1 or number 10 on the list, because people are doing the research, right? This is so important. I can't tell you how many people miss out on this difference. On the short side, it's just about ranking well, right? Having a strong reputation. These are, they're less prone to error in this research type of position. People probably aren't reading your text, right? So these are 2 different games entirely. I think we can see that. Now, another thing on the long side that you want to do is probably have a middle step. What I mean is some kind of download, some kind of PDF that people can download and give you their information so that you can continue to market to them. Continuous marketing helps because people could be here for a while. So this is how I see the difference between short and long. Now let's take this a step further. I'm going to show you this image that I really like. And this is not perfect, right? But I think this image does a very good job at giving us some insight. So I call this my 4 quadrants, right? And what the 4 quadrants are is basically like, what's going to be the best return on investment for you? So this kind of takes some of the ideas from the long short that we talked about previously, but this is more about market size and lead gen and return on investment, right? Where should you be looking? And it really boils down to uniqueness. And this is what people miss out on so many times. I can't believe how many times a business has come to me and they have something super unique and they've been sold on the idea of SEO. So market size and uniqueness, right? So if you have a big market and you're not unique, right? So you're in a major city and you are a roofing company, and that's what you do is just roofing in the general way that people do roofing. You're going to make a lot of money off of Google Maps, SEO, LSA ads. That's your big target. You can also make money from Facebook ads and search ads, but those are typically going to be a less of an ROI, right? Because they're going to probably have a higher cost per lead. Now, take that in the other direction with the small market. You're a HVAC company, but you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, or you're in a smaller market. Well, okay, great. Facebook ads and search ads might have a low ROI, but where you can make some good money is being number 1 on Google Maps, number 1 on Google's LSA, right? And then I took search out because there's just not going to be as much volume. So paying for search might not be as important, right? Maps is kind of where I would be. Okay, so that's big market and small market in a completely just HVAC, roofing, something just you just do it totally, like the industry does. There's nothing really unique about you. No offense. So now let's look at the other side of this, a big market and a very unique business. So once again, I talked to a carpet cleaner the other day, and he has his own way of doing carpet cleaning. Awesome. The problem is that is so hard for somebody who's calling and just looking for carpet cleaning to have to go through this process of learning something new. That can be difficult, right? Now, that doesn't mean you can't get a good return, but if a general carpet cleaner can sell 5 out of 10 people that come through, but you, because you have this super unique way of approaching things, it's much more difficult for you, customer journey, right? And you're only going to sell 2 or 1 of those people, the return is not going to be as high. So in this kind of unique scenario, what has to change? You have to create the market. That's where these things like Facebook ads and really any kind of advertising can come into play, right? Because you need to get out and you need to educate and create the market where people can say, oh yeah, like I need things done this certain way. That's what uniqueness is. Now, this goes down all the way to small market, very unique, which is where even if you're in a big location, you might only have a small market, right? So think about, I love the business of power washing, right? And that's typically what power washing is. Because in a small market, very unique, maybe power washing is it's not really unique, but it is a small market. So either way, in these small market, very unique, the uniqueness means you need to go create the market, but this is where targeting comes in either of these small market scenarios, really. But I always like to say, if you can make a list of the top 50 people, if you can make a list of the 50 people in your area that you know are your number one customers, and that's basically it, then SEO is not going to work very well for you, because you're going to spend all this money trying to rank number one for something like power washing. Maybe that's a bad idea, bad example, but whatever it is that you do, how many people are out there searching for it? Very few, but you know who they are. So Facebook ads can help you get targeted, and then cold outreach can be really, really important. So it just really comes down to understanding your customer. Where are they? What are they doing? A lot of people who are in commercial only businesses in the service area, I know it's not like it is B2B basically. You should be treating it as a B2B. You should be making lists and cold outreaching and doing those things, right? Don't use SEO or ads as an excuse to avoid doing what's going to work the best. Typically, if your competitors are knocking door to door on a few businesses to go get business, then they're doing that for a reason. Because if you can make a list, you're in a smaller or a unique market, small market, you got to go do that. And if you're unique in a small market, then you have to actually go create that demand. So think about your customers. Think of how they find your business. Think of what actions they are taking, and where are the roadblocks, and find ways to get in front of your customers for the best price. If your keywords you're targeting, if you can't do business with 90% of the people who are searching for a keyword, once again, if I'm a carpet cleaner, but I do my own unique thing and I only can work with certain people, then what is the point of capturing 100% of a market that you can only do work for 10% and then, only actually sell 1%? You're going to get outspent by the guy who can, get 50% of those leads into business. That's really what the problem is, right? So it's always a cost per conversion, a cost per sale. But I think this can help you think about your business, Where are your customers? What's their process? Do I need a middle ground option? Do I need to try to collect information? And where can I go to be the most effective? And then start doing those things. Don't let somebody just sell you on an idea because it's what they do. Don't let the ad guy sell you on ads because he does ads. That doesn't mean ads are for you. You have to figure out what's going to be best for your business, what is your customer journey, and then target people that way. So let me know if you have any questions. Hope this is helpful. I hope this makes sense. Not trying to overcomplicate it here, but I think it is a good way to protect yourself from doing things that don't matter and to focus your time and efforts into a place where you're going to get the most return on your investment. So cool. Well, we'll see you on the next one.